All right, guys. So most of you guys are in DSC already, but if you don't know, I'm Alex. I'm the president of the Developer Student Club here on campus. And if you don't know what the Developer Student Clubs are, pretty much everyone in here should know, since I think everyone is a DSC member. But developer student clubs are student organizations managed and sponsored by Google developers. Some of these other organizations that fall under the same umbrella include the Women Tech Makers, the Google developer groups, and Google experts. Really, the mission and goal of developer student clubs is to help students bridge the gap between theory and practice. Now, what does that mean? In our classes, we learn a lot about theory of how a lot of these computer science principles apply to being a developer, but a lot of the times we don't get the practical application of how to apply those skills, and that's where developer student clubs come in. We use Qwiklabs and these quests to learn more about these different topics and technologies like machine learning, and in this case, and a lot of other different topics. So actually figuring out how to use tools will hopefully help spark your interest and figure out how you can use these tools in some of your own projects that you might be able to submit for, like the solution challenge, for example, coming up this next spring in 2021. So without further ado, I think that's pretty much it. I just want to make a quick intro, and we have our schedule coming up real quick. I'll go ahead and have Ben and Shing take over for the schedule, and then you guys can jump right into the presentation. But I just wanted to thank you guys all for coming, and let's have a good time.
So today we're going to give a quick overview of the Google Cloud Platform. So Ben is going to spend several minutes doing that. Now we'll jump into giving you guys some of the concepts on the machine learning, just to get you guys up to speed on as you're doing the quest. And then in the later half of the presentation, we'll give you guys access to the Qwiklabs, and then we'll give you about 1 hour to work on the quest. And we'll leave about 10 minutes at the end for Q&As that you may have.
So today we're going to be working with machine learning on Google Cloud, specifically the Google Cloud Platform. And Google Cloud provides a lot of these infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, and other stuff as well in one place. So you have software as a service, includes Google Drive, Google Docs, Gmail, all of that stuff that is fully functioning software available to users. And then once you go into the IaaS and the PaaS, you start to go into the Google Cloud Platform, and you can, for infrastructure as a service, you have Compute Engine. You can create virtual machines with predefined or custom machine types to fit the needs, to fit your needs, and you can install whatever you want onto those. And alternatively, you can use services like App Engine, where Google handles all the infrastructure and the management of the resources, that you can just focus on the code. There's also serverless options, so Cloud Functions, Cloud Run. You can run scripts that are triggered by users or different events on the GCP, and you can focus on the code rather than the implementation or the infrastructure. And then GCP also provides a lot of options for machine learning and artificial intelligence. We'll be covering some of these today, including an overview of the AI platform and some specific language processing services available to you. Next thing is Cloud Shell. So a lot of the tasks you'll be doing in the Qwiklabs, in the labs, you'll be using this Cloud Shell. So every GCP user, every user for free gets 5 gigabytes of persistent disk and a virtual machine that is fully preloaded with all the G-Cloud command line tools, gsutil, for almost all the GCP products, as well as a number of other pre-installed software. And you'll be using that because you can interact directly with the Google Cloud Platform in the Cloud Shell. So for some of the labs, however, you'll need to be you'll be asked to SSH into a pre-made compute engine instance. So just be careful, don't skip over that step. And I think next is Shing. Do you want to go ahead?
Okay, thank you, Ben. Several slides. I'm going to give a quick introduction to the basic concepts of machine learning and some of the concepts which you may need as you go through this quest. So we're all learning together. So hopefully some information that I present here may help you as you go through the quest. So machine learning is a very important topic because machine learning has enabled a lot of the advancements in the modern day technologies and is everywhere in our daily lives. Some of the applications of machine learning include face recognition, recommendations of YouTube videos, recommending you the next videos to watch. When you do online shopping, they will always recommend you different products that you may be interested in. Machine learning is also used in self-driving cars, speech recognition. In the medical field, they use for cancer screening and diagnosis. Even in the post office, they use machine learning to recognize handwritten addresses so that machines can sort and the mails and packages in the distribution center automatically. So there are lots of very important applications of machine learning, and I think it's a topic that everyone should be aware of. And of course, you can always develop and run your own models. But machine learning models are always very complex, and they take a lot of computational resources to do. So running it on GCP allows you to use Google's machine learning platforms on demand so that you can provision the resources as you need to run your machine learning models. And Google Cloud also provides a lot of different machine learning services for a lot of the common cases, use cases, which allow you to deploy and develop machine learning applications very quickly. So in this quest you are doing today, the intro to machine learning language processing quest, you'll get introduced to the machine learning, and you will also have the opportunity to train and deploy a machine learning model and to make predictions based on the census data. You also use several machine learning APIs from the Google Cloud, including the speech to text and the natural language APIs. Okay, I guess we can go to the next slide. So let me take over the screen. I guess it would be easier for me to navigate between slides. So if we can see the screen. So what is machine learning? So you probably hear the word a lot on artificial intelligence, machine learning, and even deep learning. Some of these words are used interchangeably. So artificial intelligence, AI, is the study of building intelligent programs, machines. So before machine learning became widespread, AI programs were often built with hand-coded human logics and algorithms to drive intelligent decisions. So much of the tasks that are easy for human to do is actually very difficult to program in a computer. For example, if you're given an image of this slide you're seeing right now, and I ask you what words are on the screen and what the meaning of those words are, you could probably tell very easily. But if you're going to program in a computer, like a computer program to do the same task, it becomes very difficult. So machine learning enable that opportunity to complete this task that humans can do very easily. So machine learning is a subset of AI, and it uses data to develop models and drive intelligent programs. There are three main types of machine learning. First type is called supervised learning, which allow you to do classification and regression based on your own labeled data sets. The second type is called unsupervised learning, which allows you to do clustering analysis based on unlabeled data set. The third type is called reinforcement learnings, which allow you to determine optimal behavior based on past actions, the outcome of these actions. There are more different types of machine learning, but these three types are the most popular. And there's also deep learning. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning, which uses deep neural networks as the model in the machine learning problem. So in lab one of this quest, you'll be performing supervised learning to train a wide and deep neural network model and to make prediction. Second, to see if you guys have any questions so far.
If you have any questions, you can ask in the WebEx chat on YouTube Live, or I'll be making a channel in the Discord in a few minutes.
If you have questions, it's probably better to shout it out because it seems I can't see the chat room.
Oh yeah, you can also ask, just unmute yourself. Feel free to engage in a conversation if you'd like.
So if not, I would probably continue. So I mentioned the word model for quite a few times in previous slides. So I mean, you may wonder what's a model. So a model can be considered as a mathematical relationship between the input features and the output, which is also called the predictions. So supervised learning also often require a large amount of data set. So in the screen that you see on the right-hand side, it shows an example of regression analysis. So each blue dot that you see represents a data point. And in this particular case, it represents the gene expression level of gene 1, the corresponding survival duration of the patient. So we collect a large amount of this data and then try to fit a model into it. So the model shown on the screen is actually is shown by this equation y equals mx1 plus b. So this model is a straight line that is trying to mimic the relationship between gene 1 and the survival duration. And then in the classification example on the left-hand side, you will see two input features. The model, which is represented by this equation, y equals mx1 plus b minus x2. So this line and model is used to classify between a healthy patient and a patient with disease. So if y is greater than 0, then the patient is classified as healthy, represented by the blue dots. Otherwise, the patient is classified as having a disease, represented by the red dots. So if you can see, if you use a different values of m and b, which are the coefficients of this model, you get a different lines. So training a model means to find the most appropriate coefficients, and also called the model parameters, m and b in this case, so that the model could make the most accurate predictions for every existing data points, as well as any new patients who we want to make predictions on. So in practice, the model will be a lot more complex than this line. So quite often, the model could have thousands or even millions of different parameters, which we have to find the values for. And there also could be thousands of input features and millions of data points. So in machine learning problems, there are different types of models which are used. Besides the mathematical model, some people use decision trees. Some people use a model without any parameters, solely based on the data points. And there are also many different techniques which allow people to find the model parameters to most appropriately represent the data that we have and to make predictions. So I was going to stop for a second again. I know it's a lot of information, and see if you guys have any questions. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions. Don't be shy. So I see none, I will continue. So in lab one, you will encounter the deep neural network. So what's a neural network? So neural network is a type of model used in machine learning, and it's built with artificial neurons. So the artificial neurons, which are represented by the yellow and green dots here, each of them is a computational unit, which takes a based on the user-defined parameters. We also call those parameters weights on each input, and then it will produce an output. So in the computation, it actually calculate the weighted sum of the input, and then transform the weighted sum through an activation function and produce an output value. And this output value will fit in as the input for the neuron in the next layer. So a deep neural network means that there are multiple layers of neurons, and most often there could be like hundreds of neurons and even millions of different parameters that we have to find the values for. So the training for this kind of model is very time consuming and it's very difficult and requires a large amount of data set. And we would often need to use like thousands or millions of data points to fit into a big model. So to determine the weights, we have to take the input values and also the target values and to find the appropriate parameters to make sure the input will predict the correct output. And to make predictions, which we also call inferencing, is to determine the output value based on the input using the trained model. So there's a link on the screen you see, which is from the for the Google Developer Machine Learning crash course. So this course has a lot of detailed information about different concepts of machine learning and deep learning. So if you're interested, I'm going to post the link at the chat room after the presentation. So if you guys are interested, you can take a look at that. So I'm going to again stop for a second, see if you guys have any questions. I know there's a lot of information on this slide. And neural network and deep learning is a very big topic that is hard to explain in just one slide. So if not, I will continue. So TensorFlow, you probably hear the word TensorFlow quite a bit. So TensorFlow is the open source and highly optimized machine learning software library, and it is developed by Google. So TensorFlow allows you to run machine learning models on multiple CPUs, GPUs, and tensor processing units in parallel. So a tensor processing unit, TPUs, they are Google's custom developed application-specific integrated circuits. They're used to accelerate machine learning workloads, and they're very fast, performing dense vector and matrix computations, such as those computations used in training deep learning models. So models that previously took weeks to train on other hardware platforms can be completed within hours on TPUs. So TensorFlow is very widely used in deep learning and is one of the most popular machine learning frameworks used in the machine learning communities. So Google Cloud Platform provides you access to Google's TPU, tensor processing units, and which allow you to accelerate a lot of the machine learning model development and deployment workloads. So of course, machine learning could be done in your local machines, in your computer, in your laptop. You could also do machine learning in the cloud, in Google Cloud, provision a compute engine, installing TensorFlow and other necessary libraries, and then train your models and make predictions. But Google make this a lot easier for you. Google has something called the AI platform. So this is a service managed by Google. It allows you to simply provide your own data and model, or use one of the AI platform's pre-built model to do your machine learning. So AI platform, it fit into most of your machine learning workflows, allows you to train your model, do evaluation, deployment, predictions, and monitoring, and even do version control of the machine learning models. So in lab one of this quest you're doing today, you'll be using TensorFlow to create a model to predict a person's income category, whether they're making more than 50,000 or less than 50,000 based on the person's demographics, such as education level, gender, occupation, based on the census data. Then you would train and deploy your model both locally on your machine and also on the AI platform, and to make predictions using the trained model. So any questions so far from the audience? Don't be so shy. So if you have questions, unmute yourself. Oh, no worry. I'm sure there are lots of more opportunities you can ask questions later on. So besides the AI platform, Google also provides several managed AI services for some common use cases such as image processing, video analytics, natural language processing, translation, and transcription. So you have the option to use Google's pre-built models and labels, or you could also train your own custom labels with your data. So even if you're not a machine learning expert, you could still utilize Google's powerful machine learning capabilities to do your machine learning analysis. So for example, the AutoML vision that you see on the screen, it enables you to train the machine learning models to classify your images according to your own custom labels. You could also use Google's human labeling service if you have images which are unlabeled. You could also register your trained model to be used through the AutoML API. And also for the Cloud Vision API, allows you to easily integrate vision detection features within your applications, including image labeling, face and name detection, optical character recognition, and even tagging explicit contents. So Google Cloud Platform provide two speech-related APIs, which you will use one of them in your quest. The speech-to-text API allows you to do transcription and enables you to conduct speech analysis by first converting the speech into text. And the text-to-speech API allows you to build your applications with voice user interface. You could create your own automated telephone system, and even to assist visually impaired people to use your applications by converting your command into voice. In Lab 2 of this quest, you'll learn how to do speech transcription on a short audio using the speech-to-text API's pre-built models. And in Lab 5 of this quest, you'll learn how to do speech transcription in a different language, in this case, French, again using the speech-to-text API's pre-built models. And then in the other labs, you'll be experiencing the natural language API. So the natural language API provides 4 different analytics. The first one is called the syntax analysis. So it allows you to extract tokens from sentences and to identify which word belongs to which parts of speech, such as verbs, nouns, and adjectives. The second one is called entity recognition. So it allows you to identify entities in a sentence or paragraph and label them by types, such as a person, an organization, a location, events, products, or media. Then you can also do sentiment analysis with the API, which allows you to understand the overall sentiment of a sentence or part of a sentence, whether it has a positive or negative sentiment. You can also do content classification, which allows you to classify documents into over 700 predefined categories. So the natural language API can do like different analytics, but what can you actually do with them? So for example, like if you have a new product you push out to the market, people are making comments on the social media. You want to see how people's response is to your product. And of course, you can go through the social media manually and go through them one by one. But if there's thousands or even tens of thousands of comments or posts, it's very difficult and time consuming to go through them. So the natural language API allows you to do this analytics very quickly. So you could analyze each post sentiment, whether they are positive or negative, and even what people are talking about your product. And another application is that if you have like different documents, you need to extract key information from different documents. The natural language API allows you to do that. And then with the information extracted, you can do further analysis on those documents. So in Lab 3 of this quest, you will learn how to conduct the sentiment analysis, identify the subject, location, events indicated in a sentence using the natural language API's pre-built models. In Lab 4, you will be given a comment on a specific subject, such as a restaurant review. You will learn how to conduct this entity and sentiment analysis to determine whether it's a positive or negative review. We also learn how to conduct syntactic analysis, as well as analysis from a different language, in this case, Japanese, also using the natural language APIs to build models.
All right, I'm going to take a moment to cover some more points about this, the speech-to-text and text-to-speech APIs. So these APIs are pretty powerful. They can obviously translate text to speech and then also speak text. In the Qwiklabs, the quest that you'll be doing once we're done presenting the information after Shing gets back, those quests are a bit, they use a different name for these. So they don't cover the text-to-speech API, and they call the speech-to-text API just the speech API. So just remember that when you're going through it, the speech API is just the speech-to-text API. In the labs, you'll be working to convert like audio clips that are about 1 to 5 seconds. And the way it works is clips that I think are under a minute can work in an asynchronous way, and it like gives you a response pretty quickly. Otherwise, if it's longer than a certain probably a minute or so, you'll have to send a request, and it'll start translating it, and it'll there's a way to get the response once it's done. That's an asynchronous, I think. I'm not too sure. But the only options aren't just uploading a file and having it translate it. You can actually have it translate text from a stream. So you can, while the user is speaking, it can translate text as they're speaking. So that's a pretty helpful tool if you're building like a communication thing, or if you're trying to translate text as it comes in from some news station, radio, whatever. So that's just an option of what you can see is possible with it. The natural language API, Shing will be giving a small demo of what it's capable of, something that's not in the Qwiklabs. Oh, are you back, Shing?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I think the Comcast is doing something around.
All right, I'm going to transfer presenter role back to you.
You guys hear me okay? I hear myself, some echo. I don't know if you guys hear me okay.
I think we hear you fine.
Okay. So sorry about the hiccup. So before I transfer back to Ben, I would like to go through an example of using one of the Google's machine learning API.
Make sure you start sharing your screen, or do you want me to do that?
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, you hear me okay now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. If you don't hear me well, let me know. I can do some adjustment. So I want to run through an example of how to use Google's one of Google's machine learning APIs, the natural language API. So this is not in one of your labs in your quest today, but the workflow here will be very similar to what you will be doing in the quest. So imagine you're given a news article, and you're asked to identify what category this news article belongs to. So if you see the one on screen, you could probably very easily, quickly identify this about finance and business. But if you're given like thousands or even tens of thousands of news articles, and you're asked to classify and categorize those news articles, it becomes very tedious. So using Google's natural language API allow you to do this very quickly. So this workflow and information is from the Google's code at the bottom, and I'm going to post the link in the chat after the presentation. So if some of you are interested, after you complete the quest, you can go through them and see if you can do more additional exercises. So the first step if you have a new Google Cloud account, you have to set up a new project. But if you're doing the quest, or the project for you, so you do not have to set up a project. So you only need to do if you use your own Google Cloud account. And at the end of this presentation, we provide you with some links so that students can get $50 of free GCP credits you can use to do your own exercise. And then the second step is to enable the API. So if you have never used the natural language API in your Google Cloud account, you have to enable it the first time you use. So again, in the Qwiklabs that you're going through today, Qwiklab already automatically enable the APIs for you. So this is only for students if you are using their own GCP account. And then you activate the Cloud Shell, which is the little icon on the top of the web page in the Google Cloud Platform console. And after that, you have to generate an API key, which allows you to make an API call to the natural language API's endpoint from the Cloud Shell. So all the instructions is in the code lab, so you don't have to write it down. And after you have the API key, you can use the natural language API's HTTP API endpoint, create the request JSON object, and then send the request with the API key to the natural language API. And then the API would give you a response shown on the lower bottom. So the response would tell you what category the news article we just saw on the previous on the earlier slides it belongs to. So in this case, it belongs to the business news, business and industrial, and finance with different confidence level. So, but imagine if you have like thousands of different news articles you have to analyze. So you can't just copy and paste those commands one by one. So Google Cloud provide different client libraries for different programming languages you can use to quickly organize to help you to organize your data set and then send each news article into the natural language API for processing. So in the code lab that you'll be seeing in the link, you'll be showing example of using Python. So the code lab actually asks you to get the data from the Google Cloud storage bucket, but that bucket unfortunately no longer exists. But that link also show you where the original data source is. And you could download the data set from the hyperlink located in the Colab. And also the Python code provided in the Colab is a little bit outdated. So you may encounter some errors if you try to run it as it is. But you may have to do some debugging and read Google Cloud's documentation and try to see if you can figure out how to fix it. And this is also part of the learning process is to read documentations and then try to do debugging to figure things out. If you really have trouble, feel free to let us know. We'll be able to help you guys out. And then in this code lab, you will be using creating a BigQuery table. So BigQuery table allow you to store all the responses from the natural language API, which we'll be using to do further analysis later on. And after you have the BigQuery table created, you will be setting up the Surface account so that you can access the API from the Python client library. And then you execute your modified code. The modified code would retrieve each news article from the data set, and it will send the news article to the natural language API. API will give you a response, and then you will store the response back to the BigQuery table you created earlier. After you have the code is run, if you go to the BigQuery table, you will see it has 3 entries, 3 columns. So one is the original news article. Second one is the category the natural language API thing the news article belongs to. The last column is the confidence level of having the article in that particular category. And with the information in a table format, you could run your SQL query to determine how many of these news article belongs to each category. So in this case, since most of the news articles belongs to politics category, some of them belongs to like soccer, and then business, industrial, and movies. So if you can see, like combining different GCP services allows you to do analysis very quickly, even with a large data set. So, I think this is my end of my presentation. Hopefully, you learned something, and I'll hand over to Ben to show you guys how to get started on the Qwiklabs. Hey, Ben.
All right. So Shing has just discussed the different components of the language APIs available on GCP. So now what you're going to do is you're going to actually work on them in a real environment with pre-created credentials. This way you don't have to worry about paying for any services you might use. Since you're attending this event, we're going to give you a code that gives you access to the quest. And once you complete the first lab, you're going to get an extra month for all the quests on Qwiklabs. And then if you complete the entire quest, you'll also get the you'll get an additional month after that. So so does anyone have any questions? Anyone want to tell me about how their summer's been going? Anything?
Yeah, no, everything's going good. I'm just waiting for that code to start. From the general overview that Singh did earlier, it gave us a good overview of what we're doing with the. I know that Google has a lot in language processing APIs. The joke is that the new Google devices are like the Babelfish, because I think they have these ear pods you can like speak into and translates instantly.
That would be using the tech the speech to text API, right?
Yeah.
So
They
that's
have one.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, they have the capability, I think, on their next like Google phone that they're coming out with, has the capability to do live translation from language to language. So
Oh, that's pretty cool. I'd be using the Translate API as well. This quest honestly isn't a very good quest. If I were you, after you go through the first lab of this quest, you don't necessarily have to do the language processing lab or the quest. It also has some good information, but it is a bit outdated, and we didn't realize that until it was too late to switch. But there are hundreds of other labs, I think, or quests that have amazing information and gives you hands-on practice with other GCP products. There's also a few machine learning ones. So the image processing quest, there's the baseline data ML. I don't remember the rest. But there's a whole bunch of machine learning and AI ones, and then there's a bunch of others that aren't related to that. For Kubernetes, Cloud SQL, just G Suite operations, GCP costs and billing, networking, development using GCP. So you're not limited to the machine learning quest that we're doing today. Once you finish that first lab, you should get, after we get the code fixed, you should get a month of access to do all the labs on GCP. And 1 second, Qwiklabs just responded. All right, so there's specific labs. There's even stuff if you want to, if you're interested in Windows, you learn how to work with Windows applications. There's a quest for that. Setting up Active Directories, a fault-tolerant Active Directory setup on GCP. So there's a lot of things, and you'll probably want to check that out.
Oh yeah, definitely anything Active Directory related. I definitely need to learn more about that. I just started. I'm interning as a network engineer at this company. So we have a separate sysadmin department, but I see a lot of the roles at other companies are kind of trying to combine into like a pool of DevOps. So I'm
DevOps is
trying to get a little taste of experience in every section.
that's a really good thing to learn to like get a taste of everything. And the quests really can help you do that. You can do a lab on serverless functions and then do a lab on security and then machine learning, DevOps. There's an entire quest on DevOps, actually, DevOps Essential. I can send you that if you want.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm
I'll
definitely down to.
provide that link for you. All right, let's. So once we get the code working, hopefully, um, you should be able to access that quest and work through it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Is this your first study jam, everyone? Or no? How many of you is this your first study jam?
For me it is. I don't know
Okay.
everybody else in the chat.
Have you worked for or have you worked with GCP before?
No, this is my first time working with GCP. We do everything at my office through just VMware servers that we have in our own data center. We don't really. We're moving to a little bit of cloud on like Azure with
Azure?
Microsoft. Yeah, Azure. Um, but we're trying to get more stuff on the cloud and more stuff offsite.
That's generally probably a better way to go because you don't need to manage your own servers. An update, we got the code working, hopefully. Some notes. When you're going to the labs, Qwiklabs does monitor what resources you use within your GCP environment. So if it tells you to do one thing, don't try and do something else that's not part of the lab. It'll block the GCP account that they gave you, and it'll also block your Qwiklabs account. So you have to go and follow a process to get it unblocked by using the chat. Other notes, please work in incognito mode. There are some issues with the way Google handles like the accounts system on GCP and everywhere. So if you don't use incognito, when you go through a Qwiklab, you have to use their account. So make sure you use their account, their project. Otherwise, you might get charged. So use the account that's given in the top right of the page. And do it in incognito because at the end of the lab session, it'll sign out. It'll delete the account. So if you're signed into your main browser, it's going to log you out of all your Google accounts, just because that's how the Google sign-in system works. So if you have multiple accounts, you have to re-sign into all of those accounts. So that's why you want to do it in incognito, so that when it signs you out, it it only signs it out in the incognito session because you didn't log into the main browser.
I got it.
And then our tech leads have already gone through the lab. So if you're a DSC member, you should be in the Study Jam 4 channel. If you're not a part of DSC, but you're in FAU, consider joining. Okay, yeah, so we have, you can join our club and you'll be added to our Discord. You'll get emails when we have events, and you can join our OWL Central to support our club. So that's a great idea. Otherwise, just ask questions in the YouTube live chat or in the WebEx channel. So while I wait for her to get back, the whole purpose, not the whole purpose, but Part of the purpose of having this event was for you to go through and work with, rather than us teaching you how to do it, it's important for students to actually get the opportunity to do it themselves. So these Qwiklabs quests will help you do specific tasks on GCP, like hands-on. So you do it rather than seeing someone else do it or being told how to do it. You do it, and it's a real environment that you don't have to worry about paying costs for, especially when you're a student and you have these the credits, the subscriptions. So it's a really great way to learn any GCP topic and even some AWS ones if you're interested in that. So at the very least, try to finish that first lab of the quest. Completing that will give you, or should give you, a month of access. You can then go and explore all the other quests that you want to work on. It doesn't have to be related to language processing on GCP. So if you do end up completing today's quest within 30 days, so by the end of the month, or the end of in a month, so July or August 20th, you'll get another 30 days of access. So that's 2 months. You can get up to 2 months from this quest, or from working through this quest. And then when you complete a quest, you get cool badges. So those can be used to show off what you know on LinkedIn, social media, whatever you want. And regardless, it's a great way to learn how to use products without having to pay for them. Yeah, so I'm gonna probably move on. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? So this specific quest was machine learning for language processing, and we intend to have a series of quests, or a series of study gyms and or workshops. So this is part 1 of that series, using GCP to achieve machine learning and AI tasks. And we're not sure what we're going to do next exactly, but it's going to be something on machine learning, and it may or may not be a GCP quest, or like a Qwiklabs quest. If it's not, then we'll try and get a speaker or a knowledgeable person to go through in depth and give you an example, and we'll also make sure to give you a way to do it yourself and follow along. Those, watch out for any emails we'll send out. If you're interested in GCP, there's a bit.ly link on the page, bit.ly/learningcloud with a capital L and a capital C. And if you are interested in GCP, you can get you can get access to resources and free and discounts on Google Cloud exams. So this link will give you 30% off of some of the Google Cloud certifications, an additional month of Qwiklabs access, as well as one of the 3 learning paths on GCP on Plural site for the Associate Cloud Engineer, Professional Cloud Architect, and Professional Data Engineer. Most likely, if you're just beginning, the Associate Cloud Engineer is a great start. I think that link still works. Probably should have checked before I put it on the slide. Yes, and you should also get possibly 50% off of Coursera, but I'm not exactly sure how that works. Yeah, so you get 50% off the first month of Coursera if you do it. The Pluralsight and Coursera course, the offers both require you to use a credit card. But if you use the Pluralsight one, you won't be charged until the end of the first month. The next thing is if you're a student, a university student, so probably 18 or older, not necessarily, you just have to have a valid email address that belongs to a university. So not necessarily FAU, but you need to have some sort of education email. If you do it, you get $50 in GCP credits for 12 months. You don't need a credit card. You don't need a trial. You don't need to start the trial. You can start the trial after you're done with the credits or after you leave school and no longer have this option. And you'll be able to renew it every year to get another 50 credits. You'll also receive access to 13 Coursera courses. They go really in depth about various GCP topics. And then the architecting with Google Compute Engine specialization, I believe that's probably on Pluralsight, but I'm not sure about that. But you'll get access to that. You get 50% discounts on the Associate Cloud Engineer certification and the G Suite certification. And you also can get up to 200, or you get another $200 in Qwiklabs credits in addition to the subscription. So if you want to work with it after the study jam and you've run out of your subscription time, you can use the credits to get access. And then if you're a PhD student and you're working towards research, I think also if you're doing coronavirus research, not sure about that, but for PhD students, you can apply to receive up to $5,000 in Google credits for research purposes. So the link to that is google.dev/eau/verify, and you'll have to go through a brief verification process to make sure you're a student, and then you get access to all that stuff. So we also have next week, so Thursday the 25th, we are having a guest speaker, Hendrix Tavarez from the Google Developer Group in Central Florida. So he will be introducing Dart and Flutter, and then you'll also get to follow along and build your own Flutter app with him, your first Flutter app. So that's pretty cool. Definitely, I would definitely suggest working or seeing if you can go. I probably should have put the RSVP link on, so I'm going to post it in the chats. But this is also another series that we're doing, so we're going to do a series of building mobile apps with Flutter. We're not really sure what our next one is. It's going to depend on the turnout for this event. But hopefully if enough people enjoyed the Flutter workshop that we're having this Thursday, then we'll be able to run another one covering some other topic of it, maybe even introduce ML at a point. Definitely consider RSVPing. Here is the information link. I'll be posting that in all of the stream chats and the Discord. So if you can go, definitely go. I think it's a great opportunity, and it's an event, so it's fun. Mobile apps are really cool. For those of you who don't know what Flutter is, Flutter basically it allows you to work on one code base using Dart, and Flutter will ask the operating system, so iOS, Android, I think even web at a point, for a blank canvas, and then it'll draw whatever you code in Dart onto the canvas, so it's not reliant on the operating system itself. So basically, mobile apps, one code base. A quick Q&A session. Does anyone have any questions for me, Shing, any of the other tech leads? Ask in the chats, unmute yourself. You should be able to do that now. Or YouTube Live, chat, Discord, anything. I'll wait a few minutes. Oh, okay. And lastly, you're a student at FAU, we'd love to have you join our club. So we run events like this one, the study jams, the workshop we're having this Thursday for Flutter, and we're trying to organize a hackathon at one point. But definitely fill out this form, dscfau.com/go/contact, and it just adds you to our email list, and then you'll also get an email when you fill it out with a link to the Discord server to talk with us there, and also our Owl Central page, so you can join our club on Owl Central. If you're an FAU student, please do that if you're not already in the club. If you have any friends that are at FAU, tell them about the club. That'd be great. I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, comments?
No, everything sounds good to me. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Shane, do you want to end off with anything?
No, I think should be good. Just I want to thank you everyone for joining today. I think hopefully everyone learned something and just continue on the quest.
Yeah, thank you for your times, guys. Appreciate it.
If you guys have any questions, feel free to continue on the Discord group on the Study Jam 4 chat. We should be able to help you guys out.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good.
Thank you for attending. Glad you guys enjoyed the event if you did. All right. Thank you again for attending. We'll try to send out a follow-up email for participants with a survey link. We would really appreciate if you filled it out. And we'll also send you some updates about upcoming events. So yeah, great. Thank you.